Hi, welcome to another Expert Partner Update discussion. Today we're joined by Alex Barros, Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer at BEONx, formerly known as Beonprice. In this discussion, we talk about the Beonprice brand evolution to BEONx, and we hear what BEONx are all about. We touch on the vision and mission and whether that has changed. Alex outlines sustainable profitability, what it means in real terms and not as a greenwashing bandwagon. And finally, we touch on digitalization. What is it and how can it benefit hotels? Really hope you enjoy the conversation. Roll the intro. Hey Alex, thanks for joining us today. Now that's a funky background, so I'm guessing that's there specifically. Where are we talking to you today?
So I'm in San Francisco this week. We had a bunch of meetings with investors for our new round that's coming up early next year. So that's where I am.
Been keeping busy. Early mornings and late nights with your different time zones then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now it's just about 30 minutes past 5 in the morning, so UK time.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for getting up. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, BEONx is there on the branding that we can see. So we're going to touch on what that means in a moment. But before that, be useful, I think, because we've obviously done some videos before with the guys from Beonprice. But we haven't yet had you on a video. So if you could just give us an introduction as to who Alex is, that would be brilliant. And then we'll get into the BNX story. So over to you.
Fantastic. So I've been in the industry for quite a long time. I think just almost 17 years. So I worked with a bunch of travel tech companies. I started in loyalty with hospitality marketing concepts. We did loyalty programs for hotels, uh, points-based programs, CRM. Then I moved over to SiteMinder, which I'm sure you're familiar with as well. So I was part of the team that took SiteMinder to expand in Southern Europe, and we were massively successful there, making it a household name very quickly. I think we went from 0 hotels to 2,500 hotels in 2 years. And then from there on, I actually took a company called Duetto to Europe as well, which obviously now in a similar space where we are. And I worked for guest messaging platforms, advising for a lot of travel tech companies. So I've been around the block a few times, understand distribution, revenue management, and technology in hotels quite well. I've been advising for Beonprice, now BEONx, for about 4 years. And about 4 years ago, we decided that we were going to have a brand change.
Right.
And at the time, we weren't ready for it because the product wasn't there yet. We had a big, let's say, some big hurdles and some big challenges we had on the roadmap to be able to actually achieve and have a product to compete with the, let's say, with the big boys in the industry. And last October, in the event that you were actually part of, Beonprice had finally reached that final milestone in terms of getting the product to the level, and I'd say beyond the top competitors in the marketplace. So I have been invited by Ruben and Emilio to join the team finally, full time, or almost full time, at the beginning of the year. And because we already had the plan kind of aligned, what we've done, we've basically started working straight away on finding the new name for the brand and restructuring the story that we have, but not just the story, the vision of the company, realigning and preparing it for the future. So it's been my mission to really work with the founders and with the rest of the team to create a vision and the brand that would take BEONx to the forefront of thought leadership in the industry and to really change the future of revenue management in many ways, which we see is necessary. I think we've learned a lot with the pandemic. I think that non-revenue streams have become extremely important, and we've seen a massive adoption in technology globally. As you know, there's been a 7-year jump
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
technology
In like the last 7 months.
in 7 months exactly. And I think that it was quite apparent and clear that the type of technology environment and tech stack hotels had was no longer a viable option because you have less staff and the staff doesn't have time to actually go and manage all of the different platforms. So the de-taxation of technology that happened over COVID has been very interesting. And where we sit with BeonX, I think it really catapults hotels to a new era of profit management.
So, BEONx. I've known you guys as Beonprice. What is BEONx? Why the change? Tell us the story.
Perfect. So going back to the name first, so you understand. So we were convinced 4 years ago that to be able to lead revenue management and profit management and total profitability, we needed to reposition the brand because when you say Beyond Price was known as a market intelligence platform
Hmm.
for a while. I actually got to know the founders at the very beginning when they first started the company 10 years ago, and they were like asking for information and trying to understand the market. I was a site minder at the time, and they actually wanted to be a revenue management platform at the time. But very quickly, they understood that they needed some data to actually be able to price hotel rooms effectively. So they kind of took a detour and went into the market intelligence market,
Hmm.
a rate shopper. That was,
Yep.
how you used to call market intelligence at the time. And with that, they were extremely successful in building a massive customer base globally with Beyond Price.
Hmm.
So the perception in the markets where Beyond Price had been present is very much of a rate shopper and a market intelligence platform. So the need to drop the price out of the name, it was obvious. And on the other hand, we could have gone to a completely different brand, but when you have 2,500 customers that know you and like you and enjoy working with you, dropping the whole
Ah,
brand and going to something completely different made no sense.
that'd be nuts.
So we did the whole process that marketing has to go, finding names that are viable, finding good stories to tell. And this year, Beyond Price completed 10 years. So, X
Okay. Yep.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
growth is 10. So basically, that's the first reason why X works for us. The second reason is basically we are actually going into a discipline that has exponential impact in hotels. We're not talking about 7, 5, 10% increase in revenues, which any RMS can do.
Hmm.
We are talking about how can BeonX take hotels to a completely different approach and look into revenues and all of the potential profits within the organization from A to Z, which can have an exponential impact on the results and profitability and the GP of the hotel. So for us, this exponential search of profits, it was also part of the reason why we thought it made sense.
That makes sense.
The other thing is X, especially when you see in our logo, you see that the X is up there as a potency. It really, in maths, when you're trying to find an X,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
you don't know what the X is, and,
Yep.
and and that's a reality for every single one of the hotels that we have. So part of our brand promise is how do you take you to a path of total profitability, but more so, let's find your X. What's your X as a brand? So what is your X of profitability that we can find? So for us, that made sense. Furthermore, there's two more very strong reasons, and I probably could be all day telling you about the by X, but basically the next one is we are the crossroads of data. So that's
Hmm.
where data meets, and we get data points to come in. Comes to our artificial intelligence. We use our predictive analytics and artificial intelligence to actually, recommend rates, recommend strategies, and that's basically where we put everything together in one place, so hotels can actually understand what to do next. I guess the next one with the X as well is basically we are working towards becoming an exchange. So BeonX is no longer just a revenue management platform, but we're also a marketplace for sustainable, profitable apps.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to get into the sustainable, profitable in a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
But what I want to say to you is all of the platforms that we have in our ecosystem are platforms that are sustainable in the sense that they manage resources in the best way possible. Also profitable because we need to know what the ROI of each one of the platforms has in order to get them into our marketplace.
Hmm.
So therefore, our promise to our customers is we will basically do a scan and an audit with you and every single hotel, understand where you are with digitalization, which for us is the fabric that will enable hotels to actually generate new revenue, retain new revenue, generate a better guest experience, and to actually empower hotels to really look at the whole revenue journey throughout the guest journey. So for us, these are some of the reasons for the X. But like I said, there's a bunch of others, but those are the core ones for us, and I think that they're very strong. And I think that X for us as well, it marks the future. So it's 10 years
Yeah,
for Beyond Price, but what does it hold for the hotel industry? Where are we going with it? So
no,
that's
it
what
makes
we're trying to achieve.
there's a lot of thought in behind that X, isn't there?
Absolutely, yes. Man, we've got a great domain, which is beonx.com, which couldn't be any better. And
Absolutely.
the best part, we managed to keep the beyond part
Yeah.
of Beyond Price, literally linking the past of our brand with the future. So if you look at our logo, you see we have our original colors, so orange and pink.
Hmm.
We also had blue, and our new color on the other logo you see is actually a dark blue, gray, teal, and we also have the teal, which is kind of the future, which stands
Absolutely.
for sustainable profitability.
I
So
just
that's
want
where
to
we are.
pick up on something you said there because it's connecting kind of the past with the present. So often when
Absolutely.
companies go through a rebranding exercise, you sometimes feel do they lose the original story, the original vision, mission that existed? I mean, has that changed radically? What Beyond Price meant and what it's going to be, has that changed radically through this rebranding?
Uh, let's put it this way. I think our mission was to price anything on the internet at the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what happens when you go through an exercise of rebranding, of uncovering your culture and materializing it and drafting a plan of where you want to go, that really transforms uh, what you're looking at. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the world's changing every single day, and everything should change with it.
Yeah.
And part of our mission is how do we really focus on paving the way for revenue managers and hotels to build this profitability layer and to actually be able to go way beyond the walls of a hotel to capture value and revenue and obviously profits for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that what we also want as an organization and part of the vision and the mission is, you know, if you look historically, sustainability has been something that most people look at it and frown upon still today. I mean, if you think about the perception of sustainability in the US for a large, let's say, part of the population, um, everybody really sees sustainability as something that is just greenwashing. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. Some people don't believe in, climate change and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But forget about all of that. The point that we want to make sure we bring to hotels is this. Today, 2022, there are an infinite number of initiatives that can be profitable and also sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out that some of the initiatives that are sustainable are actually also profitable. So, what we want to do is we want to basically help hotels pinpoint all the opportunities. And I'll give you a couple examples that you can
Yep.
put your finger on it so you don't think, okay, what is he talking about? And literally bring those initiatives, delivering instant profits for hotels and having as a byproduct uh, being sustainable.
And
So
well, you mentioned earlier when you were talking about the journey of Beyond Price and the change into Beyond X, and you mentioned the
yes,
phrase sustainable profitability. And
absolutely.
I was looking at that and thinking, okay, sustainable in sustainability or sustainable as in it profit can be sustained for a while. So just to kind of can you just dive into that? Because that seems to be related to what you're saying there.
Absolutely. So when we talk about sustainable profitability, and for us as a brand, they have to come together. If you just
Mm-hmm.
talk about sustainability, I mean, you completely lose credit there because people associate that with all the greenwashing, all the
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that
yeah.
are just marketing jargons and so on. When we talk about sustainability, um, we're talking about the ability for an organization, and that can be any organization, to actually maximize and optimize the use and the retention of resources.
Mm-hmm.
So, a good example of that, imagine that you have a hotel, you just sold the room for 100 euros, just make it simple.
Yep.
So, you sold the room for 100 euros net. So, maybe you sold it for 120, you paid 20% for the OTA, and you got
Mm-hmm.
100 euros left on your books to play with. Now, from a hotel standpoint, you have that 100 euros to play with. Now, for most hotels, out of that 100 euros, 10 euros is automatically written off on cleaning and washing sheets and washing towels,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes using single-use plastic
Yeah, yeah.
amenities. Now, if you think about the possibility that you have to get your guests, every single guest you have in your hotel, if you get 5% of them to skip room cleaning
Yep.
or to skip towel changes or changing the sheets, for example, that has, let's say 5% of your customers do that, you're automatically having a massive impact on the ADR that you have for all of your rooms in the hotel. So that is basically being sustainable in
Yeah,
the
because it's
sense
a
of
sustainable
profitability because
practice
you're
as well, isn't it?
retaining more.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you're retaining more profit,
Mm-hmm.
but then as a byproduct of it, you are saving water, you are saving time,
Yep.
and you're being good for the planet. So that's, it couldn't be any better. I mean, when you combine those things
Genu-
together,
Genuine sustainability practice. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about planting trees, and I mean, of course, planting trees could be part of it. Offsetting carbon could be part of it.
Yeah.
Being a hotel that doesn't use single-use plastic, of course, that's also part of it. Why? Not because it just looks good, because the cost of having single-use plastic in your hotel is exponentially more than actually having dispensers that you can just basically have them refilled. And me, myself as a consumer, I don't know how you feel, but I mean, I travel a lot. I probably spend about 200 days of the year on hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I go into a hotel, especially when I go into an international brand and they have single-use plastic there, I honestly feel like sick. I'm like, oh my god, why haven't these
what
guys
the?
haven't moved away?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
seriously,
year are we in?
exactly. I mean, and the funny thing is, I worked on a project with my uncle, who is a guy who was director for the WTTC for Latin America for many years. This is about 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
mind you.
Mm-hmm.
And we were working 20 years ago on an initiative which was skip room cleaning, don't wash your towels, keep them up. At the time, they thought, you know what, this is too early, it's too visionary.
Yeah.
But we're 20 years on, we're still talking about the same thing.
That's crazy,
so,
isn't it?
so, so, so I've made my life mission to really bring those things to life and really help hotels to be more responsible. And we were talking about the customer lenses, the consumer, the guest lens that we acquired over COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I think each one of us globally, doesn't matter if you are in Argentina or in China, you you were more aware now that we've got to do something about what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think the consumer, and if you look at Expedia and also um, booking research, you see that people would be willing to pay more for a hotel that is actually demonstrating that it's sustainable than one that's not.
Mm-hmm.
So from that perspective, what we are doing, because I think that's going to have a massive impact on the purchasing behavior of customers, we are working on an initiative called the Hotel Sustainability Index.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of parties that are involved in that, including hotel chains, large hotel chains around the world,
Mm-hmm.
some prominent booking engines as well, which are there, and and also there's one more organization that I can't disclose yet
Mm-hmm.
that is basically taking part with us, and they're literally authorities in sustainability. But the idea is we will create this hotel sustainability index that we envision that's going to be created by the industry rather than by the OTAs. And then that number can be displayed on booking engines, it can be displayed on OTAs. And even if we don't reach it, we'll at least have a seat on the table to try and help, shape that.
Yeah.
So I
Influence the
think that
change.
first lens was created. So that is just basically a device on how that interfaces with the end consumer. But looking from the hotel standpoint, what we believe that guests perceive is what I said to you. If I come to a hotel and I've got single-use plastic, I already know you don't care about the environment.
Yeah.
You're keeping doing something you could have changed, years ago, and you still haven't. So basically, my perception is, do I don't want to say the brand anymore, and I really don't. I really switch and I don't go back because, and every time I write an email to the GM saying, "Come on, guys, it's been a while. You
Yeah.
guys could do better, please."
I know I was
So
talking about it 20 years ago, but it's like real now.
yes, I mean, it's still real. The same, like the same amount of water you would need to wash sheets. It hasn't changed, but now you guys know better. You could do better.
Yeah.
There's guest messaging platforms. You could send a message to Trevor and saying, "Hey, Trevor, do you want to get a drink in the bar instead of getting your sheets changed?" And that suddenly you change what is a cost center to a profit center because you
Absolutely.
generate revenue out of that. So all of that ability to think about how to intertwine sustainability with profitability, it's literally our mission as an organization. So if you
Makes a
think
lot of
about
sense.
how can we help hotels make more money, but also retain the money they have and also be more efficient. For example, simplifying their tech stack instead of having, let's say, I don't know, 5 platforms to do check-in, upselling, guest messaging, checkout. I mean, it's mental. I mean, I have an Airbnb myself, and I can tell you, I could not afford all the technology that there is out there, and I get completely overwhelmed as a hotelier with the technology that is out there. So I believe that uh, part of our mission is also to actually, how can I say, define
Yeah.
what digitalization means for hotels. Because I believe that there is this boogeyman that was created by everyone and in the industry. I think you've been going to travel events for many years.
Hmm.
I mean, for the last 15 years, every time you go to an event, what do you talk about? Digitalization. And every time I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, have you guys not gone past it? I mean, seriously? So for me, it's kind of an infuriating sensation of, you know what, we're never gonna get there because nobody has decided, nobody has really defined what are we talking about?
So
What is
you've
it?
mentioned that mentioned this digitalization. You use that phrase a number of times just in this short conversation. What does that mean?
Perfect.
What does it mean to be on X then? I guess in this
So,
sense.
so, so, as I mentioned to you, so I think that there's this boogeyman that was created,
Hmm.
and I think what hotel chains have done is because you can't, you know, outline what that means.
Hmm.
You grab the hand and you say, okay, I'm going to take the check-in, and that's just the hand.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to take the head, and that's guest communication. Oh, I'm going to get the arm, and that's something else,
Yeah.
check-in or upselling, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you think, okay, that's all I can do because I have limited resources, I have limited staff, and therefore that's what I could fix. But today, there are at least a handful of solutions in the marketplace that can do guest messaging, that can do upselling, that can do check-in, checkout, that can do guest communication in hundreds of languages and can automate the answers from the hotel staff to the guests, providing information on demand for guests that want information on demand. They don't want to be waiting for you to tell them, oh, what time is breakfast? They want to have the answer there and then.
Hmm.
And they don't want to do that via email either. They want to do it on messaging because if you think about messaging versus emails, it's like sending a turtle with a message to a guest. It's going to take
Hmm.
3 days to get there
Yeah.
and sending a bullet with a message. It takes you 0 seconds, and 90% of people will open within 3 minutes. So literally, for us, when you think about digitalization, is what are the tools that you as a hotelier need to be able to give a better guest experience, generate revenue, and retain revenue.
Hmm.
So how do you do that? And then, of course, optimize the staff time.
Yeah.
So that's basically what digitalization is for us. So when you think about how can you get that done, instead of having maybe to buy 4 or 5, 6, 7 platforms, maybe buy one that can do everything, maybe not perfectly, but at least you don't have to manage 7 platforms,
So
implement 7 platforms, pay for 7 interfaces, and then
yeah.
therefore, makes it
As
impossible.
you were explaining it, it sounded like a hotel's building a Frankenstein's monster by like kind of building different appendages. Yeah.
But that's exactly what's happening because everyone thinks, okay, check-in is important, but then the check-in is disconnected from the messaging app, and then how do you get the check-in message to the guests? So when you start putting all these things together, and it's all patched up, but it's highly inefficient, it's highly expensive, and the guest experience is completely broken. So how do we make the guest journey seamless to be able to generate revenue, retain revenue, and empower your staff to actually have more time, not answering things that are, the artificial intelligence can do easily.
Mm.
So that's for us, is what digitalization means. And of course, I mean, if you take it one step back, I mean, we even have gone to the point where we created, in part of our discovery and our revenue audit, we were going to be showing hotels what is their digitalization index. And what we've done is we asked them a bunch of questions and we go, look, out of 100, that's where you are. And
Right.
of course, we're not including every single piece of technology, but we're saying, look, the very basic for you to reach 100 is this. If you don't have that, then basically you're in trouble. You need to do something about it quick.
Well, this picks up on something I was going to ask you, which is so where does this impact? What kind of customers, hoteliers is something like this really going to be impacting?
Honestly, digitalization impacts every single hotel, every single apartment, every single massive chain. And I can tell you, all the way from my Airbnb in Puglia
Mm-hmm.
to Accor to Marriott, there is a broken journey,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's trying to fix it, and everybody's trying to find solutions for it. So I think that the impact of what I'm talking about, of looking at hotels holistically, I think that's going to change everyone.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the other things that has happened, and that's kind of one of the main drivers for BEONx, is we've basically are making a massive paradigm shift on how do we, as hoteliers, look at the property and the
Mm-hmm.
revenue streams.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about traditional hotels, most hotels nowadays, apart from resorts or some very forward-thinking brands, you have the room at the center. The room is the center of the hotel. All the ancillary revenues are like secondary, not so important. If you get them, great. If you don't get them, okay. If you think about some of the large companies in the world during COVID, what they did, the first thing they did was, let's cut ancillary generators or ancillary managers, and let's basically chop them down. So suddenly you realize, look, we're doing it wrong, because right now, if you look at the numbers that we have globally from the WTTC, from all the research that all of the big consulting firms in the world are doing, we know that non-room revenue has exponentially grown, and and room revenues have, you know, obviously we had a fantastic year with the revenge travel and the luxury
Yeah. Sure.
luxury travel that boomed as well. Boom, sorry. Obviously, we had a fantastic year with luxury travel booming, also revenge travel. So, I mean, from where we sit, we think next year you have similar rates, maybe a little bit lower because people haven't saved as much money anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's in the squeeze, especially there in Europe.
Yeah.
Our energy bills are killing
Sky high.
us.
Yeah.
It's just basically something that you couldn't even dream of. So I think that there's going to be a bit of a pinch on pricing in the next year or so, but it's not going to be a decline or a massive change. I think leisure and pleasure has been really going up,
Mm-hmm.
and of course corporate travel is suffering a bit more. But again, what we've done is removing the room from the center, and we're putting the guest at the center of the hotel.
Yep.
And once you have the guest, you have the first lens of sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
the second lens of value for money, which is basically what we do with Hotel Quality Index, which takes a bunch of attributes of the hotel to understand where you are versus your comp set. So
Mm-hmm.
guests can understand, and hotels can understand at what price are you selling your rooms. Does
Yep.
it make sense for you to sell at X when your customer, your next door competitor has a much better product,
Sure.
and he's
Yep.
selling lower price than you? So, and then we have the third part, which is not a lens, but like is the fabric that puts it all together, which is like I mentioned to you, the digitalization.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, this is the setup that we understand that's going to drive our transformation and how we look at revenue and revenue streams for hotels going forward.
That makes a lot of sense. And obviously, when you're going through a rebranding exercise, a repositioning, everything that you've done here, it's clearly with the future in mind. So, is what you're articulating now how you perceive the future, or do you think this is what you're doing is just getting to a point which is a stepping stone into how the future of hospitality is going to evolve?
Um, Quite frankly, I think that Obviously, we're looking at the future in many different things that
Mm-hmm.
will impact hotels. But what I just told you, this is something that should have been sorted
Yeah, yeah,
already.
yeah.
So we can help hotels today to sort this out.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a vision of how can we do it in 10 years from now. This is basically a plan that we can help hotels to make the change next week.
So
Depends how
actionable
serious and how
right now.
committed.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So
yeah.
if you are committed to making changes, to actually going and finding profits, and if you are, especially as a CEO of a company or a business leader that actually has a stake in the business, because if you think about the different silos that sit within a hotel, and I've been selling travel tech for quite a while, and every single
Quite
time
a
you go
while. Yeah.
into hotels, you know you talk to a specific silo and they say, sorry, I can't touch that because that goes through operations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't touch that because it goes into marketing. I can't touch that because it goes into loyalty. The problem is, if you aren't able to burst those bubbles of the different silos, you
Mm-hmm.
can't squeeze profit out of the organization.
Yeah.
So, what we're trying to help is, how do we help hotels create this layer of profitability that helps revenue managers to help the organizations understand where there are potential profits sitting within your organization? Because without even trying to do any external efforts of revenue acquisition, campaign, marketing, and so on, you can actually get a lot of profits that are sitting within your organization right now. And we believe that this is the new discipline that's going to be transforming what the revenue managers that we know, revenue manager profession we know today, with these new toolkits and this new discipline that's going to take hotels to what we believe it's a sustainable, profitable future. So that's literally the vision is how can we get very effective at that and very efficient. So, with our profitability index, you can actually see different dials for different parts of the organization. So, for example, okay, how are you doing in revenue generation? Oh, you're on 50%. How are you doing on revenue retention? Oh, you're doing 20%. How are you doing on guest communication? Oh, you're doing it 5%.
Yeah.
And then therefore you understand what needs to get better, and you can go back to your hotel, and you could be the revenue manager, the person who's leading this project, and you can say to the CEO and you can say to the marketing team and say, hey guys, there is a possibility for you guys to get 5% of our total revenue on retaining revenue by doing a cool campaign, offering drinks instead of changing your towels and your sheets. I mean, that is a super simple thing
Yeah.
that can be automated. It doesn't cost even training time from your team, because a machine can do it, a bot can do it for you, and
Mm-hmm.
you can send a text message to the guest, they can sign up for it,
Done.
send that message to operations, I already know, done. And then, of course, implementing that is super important, because what I also have experienced as a traveler, sometimes you go to your room and there's a little sign saying, hey, leave the towels hanging and then we won't take them we won't change them. You come back to the room, guess what, the towels are all gone, even though they were hanging. And you're like, what's going on? And then that becomes a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can automate it, and if you can actually go through it, I mean, there's so much money to be found. I mean, your X is so big that you can literally multiply your profits very, very quickly. And like I said, you're going beyond having a 7% impact of an RMS. You're really going to exponential profits. I can't even put a number, because, like I said, every single hotel has their own X, depending on how committed they are to finding profits, how committed they are to not care about the silo so much, and how committed they are into how to make their organization a sustainable, profitable organization. So for us, that's a bit where we're going. I firmly believe that that's the way forward. Not because I think so, because I've seen numbers,
Yeah.
because I understand the technology. I've been doing, tours all over the world, looking at sustainable initiatives that are profitable. So, I went to the World Expo this year to look at all the different things that we're coming up with, and technology is incredible. I mean, there is so much that we as humans have developed that can be deployed and have immediate impact on hotels, that it's mind blowing. I mean,
Yeah. It is crazy.
there's just one more example here. I know
Yeah. Yeah.
it's getting a long conversation, but I think it's a very important one for us.
No, go for it.
So, for example, I mean, there are these companies that do this small water plant recycling
Mm-hmm.
machines that you put like in one parking spot in the hotel, and that can recycle gray water, black water to gray water,
Yep.
and it can save you thousands. Like with one machine, you make a 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 investment, you get 300,000 in return. So I mean, those are things that basically they are technology is there. You can use it, And if you do it, well, I mean, for example, if you put gas communication platforms and you do the, the revenue generation and revenue retention, I mean, you could be saving millions in any property that you have. I mean, I'm here in the Silicon Valley. I was yesterday as well with a company called Resort Pass. There's another one in Spain called Hotels Break,
Hmm.
and basically these guys are selling day passes, and one hotel can get millions of pounds or of euros or dollars, a year selling day passes,
Yeah,
which is something that they don't usually do.
yeah,
And
very
so all of that inventory that is perishable can be optimized and can be monetized. So I think our mission is, how do we connect you, hotelier, with those gems of pieces of technology that can have a massive impact in profitability.
It makes a lot of
So
sense.
that's what we're doing. Yeah.
And your example there of the the recycling of the water. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a classic example of something that would be that's a solid, sustainable practice, but
But very
also
profitable.
can be very profitable. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
example, isn't it? Yeah. No, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm very conscious of your time. It's very early where you are there. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. We've been on this conversation for a bit longer now, but everything that you've said has been really interesting. Some very exciting times ahead, and look forward to getting you back on for further conversations to explore. And I think we could probably pick out a number of these elements of where you
Absolutely.
guys are doing and take that another
Yeah.
step. So thanks so much for your time.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
So we're really excited about this, and thank you so much for having us.
Well, I hope that conversation was of interest, and thanks again to Alex for joining us. If you have any thoughts or views on this conversation, please feel free to comment below. If you like the discussion, please don't forget a thumbs up. And if you're interested in more of our videos, here is a link to our Expert Insights playlist. Here is a link to our Coffee Time Chat playlist. And here is the button if you would like to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks again for watching.